Hi, I'm Beth Rodgers, author of Freshman 14, a young adult novel. This review is going to be about Wicked, the Broadway musical. I'd like to talk about this show today, especially because I just saw it again for the second time last night, and it is so fantastic that I couldn't wait to share more about it with all of you. The original novel for this musical was written by Gregory Maguire, but the music and lyrics for the musical were written by Stephen Schwartz, and the book for the musical was written by Winnie Holzman. Now, the original Wonderful Wizard of Oz books were written by Elphaba, and Wicked is meant to be a prequel to Baum's stories. Even though Elphaba didn't write Wicked, it is in the same vein and follows the same storyline, basically, that leads up to what happens when Dorothy arrives in Oz. This play, this musical, is, in my opinion, a theatrical marvel. It captures harmony, discord, and so many other emotions that go through all of the characters in Wicked and in The Wizard of Oz by extension. They all come from different backgrounds. There's Elphaba, who becomes who we know as the Wicked Witch, and there is Glinda, who becomes Glinda. She goes from Galinda to Glinda. As the course of the show goes on, she explains why she's doing that. But she is who we know as the Good Witch. We meet the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, and the Tin Man before they even became those characters. And it really is fascinating to watch all of this transpire as the musical goes on. Now, like I was saying, Elphaba and Galinda, who she is at the beginning of the musical, they knew each other back when they were going to school in Oz at Shiz University. And when they meet, they don't really like each other. And that's how we know them in The Wizard of Oz. But as time goes on, things change. They get to know each other and kind of become somewhat of friends. And things happen between them, just like anything happens between friends. There's discord, there's harmony, like I was saying earlier. But a lot goes on that changes dynamics. And we learn how they all came to be who they are as a result of those dynamics by the time that Dorothy comes to Oz. Now, just because something happened a certain way in Baum's version of The Wonderful Wizard of Oz doesn't mean it's going to happen the same way in Wicked. The musical captures different perceptions, it questions those perceptions, and it captivates our minds with interesting twists for how character relationships can be defined over the course of time. So there are some discrepancies, in my opinion, only towards the end, when after Dorothy arrives, in terms of when people meet and so on and so forth. I don't want to get into too much of it because I don't want to give anything away. But even if with these discrepancies that I see, the musical was still exhilaratingly wonderful, and I can't speak highly enough of it. And if you take it just for what it is and take away The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, you wouldn't ever know that anything was somewhat a little bit off. But a lot is clarified throughout the musical that makes me even question if my discrepancy issues are really discrepancies. And you'd have to see the musical and to really understand what I'm getting at. The writing is fantastic. It deepens your connection with The Wonderful Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. Even though they're not the exact same story, you really, if you've seen the movie or read any of his books, you really have a deeper meaning to it, and it's really wonderful to read and watch. When I teach composition, I'm always talking with my students about the rhetorical devices of ethos, pathos, and logos. Now, ethos is dependent on the credibility of a person who is speaking or writing, not on the people who are hearing it or reading it, but on the person who's saying it or doing it or writing it. Now, since Elphaba is the main character in Wicked, we learn most about her and what is at stake for her. And we learn that her credibility is really established early on in that she isn't really who we perceive her to be when Dorothy comes to Oz in the Wizard of Oz version that everybody knows from the movie that came out in 1939. A lot of she was trying to stand up for something, and when she did this, people turned against her, and because of this, she was construed as a villain, a wicked witch, and this made life unbearable for her. And so she was really a victim of circumstances, and as you watch the musical, you really see this play out. This leads into pathos because there's a lot of emotion, and that's what pathos really is. It's dependent on the feelings, the emotions of the characters, the way they feel for each other, the ups and downs. I cried, I laughed, I almost every emotion you can feel, I felt throughout this musical. Um, and despite not having all of the same situations having occurred to me, I could empathize with the characters, and I could really understand why they chose to do what they did, even if it wasn't the same decision that I might have made myself. Um, and finally, logos, the third rhetorical device that I mentioned, that deals with evidence that substantiates the credibility and the emotions that we've already discussed. Elphaba went from being misunderstood to being wicked, quote unquote, in one fell swoop just because of one choice she made. And how she deals with it is really a testament to her character, which is established before she was ever labeled as being wicked. This musical will engage you. It will surprise you. The music and the words, the lyrics, everything will delight you. I give it the highest of recommendations. I would go see it again in a heartbeat. And one day I will. I highly recommend it. I think that if you look at not just the acting in it, which is superb, but you look at the emotion and the writing of the actual script, you will really see how amazingly wonderful it truly is. So check it out and check back soon for more reviews. Have a great day.